Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see right now, I've already finished coloring my fight scene over here between my villain, who's in the background here, and my hero, the mask up front over here. So that's done. I actually use a little bit of the burn and dodge tools. That is not required. That's an optional thing, but if you do burning and dodging, I'll always give you a little extra credit on that. But we want to make sure that everything's nice and done. And you can see with my earlier video about how to use levels to sort of brighten up the background. By brightening up the background, makes your colors look a little bit more vibrant. It makes the characters pop out a little bit more. It's also going to make it a lot easier for me to erase all this stuff now to add my background. For the background, I went out on Google Images search over here, and I got myself a picture that I wanted to use for the background. Again, the post-apocalyptic for me because, you know, this is the days and times we're living in. So I found my picture, and I've already opened it up in Photopea. You can see it's a new tab. You guys should all know how to do that. You go open, file open, find the picture that you want, and open it up in there. I did like adding a new filter or an effect to it. You don't have to do that, but you know that you can do that. And I'm going to go back to my fight scene and get started. So again, first things I want to do to sort of then combine all this stuff together is, number one, I need to meld all these layers into one. So to do that, you'll hold down Control, the Shift key, and then tap the letter E. E for everything. And that will merge all those layers into one layer. It called mine Villain Pants because that was the layer I was selected on. The name of it really doesn't matter. You can always change that. I'm just going to call it the Battle. All right. So I have that all as one layer. And again, it should already be unlocked. Then we're going to go to one of the most controversial tools, our Magic Wand tool. And if I click on the background, I should get a fairly large selection of my project. Now, if you see the selection is taking a little too much, all right, you can lower the tolerance. I don't really have to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway just to show you. Or if you see that the selection area is not selecting enough, you can increase the tolerance, and that will select more as you click over here. I'm gonna keep it in that 50% range, but that is something that you could adjust, and again, something you guys have done already. So if you're not familiar with it, you should have already done this for the first time when we did the characters. So if I hit delete now, I should see my checkerboard, and my checkerboard means that it's clear, that there's nothing there. But I do have some other stuff in here. I got a little spot down here to get rid of. And then I have a lot of this writing that I don't really want this anymore. When I drew it the first time, I realized I wanted it, but now I don't really want it anymore. So this might be a chance now for me to switch over to the eraser tool. Again, it's a brush. I would keep that brush hardness at 100% for the eraser tool. And then I'm going to go in here and try to erase. And for whatever reason right now, it's not erasing anything. And it's sort of a mystery. Oh, okay. So this is a good thing. If you're doing what I'm doing and it's not erasing and it's not doing anything, realize that I still had an area selected down here. To deselect from that, Control D. And because that little area down there was selected, it wouldn't let me do this, which is what I wanted to do. So if you ever have a situation where a paintbrush or an eraser is not working, Mr. B even makes mistakes himself. So just remember, do you have an area selected on your picture? Because if it is, the eraser tool will only work where it's selected. So Control D will deselect things. I'm going to go through and I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff. And I'm going to go take a peek and zoom in on some parts of my characters, making sure it's all cleaned up around them. So I have a nice, usable character thing. So I'm just going to do a really quick cleanup here. Some of the extra lines and some of the things that aren't really necessary. And then my original drawing had it was a little sloppy, but you know, with the magic of the computer, I have the ability to clean these things up. And when I look at it really quick, I see in this thumb right here and in this leg right over here, I have some missing color. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to grab my color picker. I'm going to match it up to the color that I'm missing right there. Hit OK. And I'm just going to use my brush to touch up things. You can always go back in and touch up your characters, touch up the stuff that's going on there. So I'll just kind of fix that thumb a little bit. I see there's a little empty spot on his foot over here. I'm going to match it up with one of those grays, and then again, just with my paintbrush, fill that in. And you know what, you want to do all those little touch-up kind of things. You want to make sure your work looks good and that you're happy with it the way it looks. So I've got my little fingers over here for my evil villain. I got my guy. I've got my clear background now. I should be good to go. Now I'm going to switch over to the other tab for my background, and then I want to select this. So to select all of it, I'm going to hit Control and then tap the letter A. And Control A is select all. That will select everything. I'm going to hold down Control and then tap the letter C. That will copy things. And then I'll go back to my fight scene and hit Control V, which will paste it. Now it will paste on top of this layer, and you could very easily adjust that by clicking and dragging it beneath it. You can see it's back there, and most likely it will either be too big or too small. So again, to resize that, we'll make sure that we're on the layer we want to resize. Not on the battle, on this background layer. I'm just going to call this my background, rename it. You want to make sure you're on the background layer, and that's selected, and then you can go to Image, Free Transform, and then you could get those transform options, which are the little dots on the corners and in the middle, and you can kind of stretch that out and move it around so you have it fit the way you want it to fit. And I'm gonna see that I like it like that. I want to place it. I want to be done with that, so I'm just going to hit Enter. All right, and it places it. And now that I have my background, I see I've got a couple little areas, little spots, a little white stuff that didn't erase that quite that well. So I'm going to spend the rest of my time sort of with my eraser tool just cleaning that up a little bit. You have plenty of time if you're working on this right now to do so. So I'm going to get myself a smaller eraser, and you can see what I did is I erased my background because again, you got to make sure you're on the correct layer to do so. So now that I'm on my character layer, my battle scene, now I can come in and kind of fix that stuff up. So I'm going to go through, and that's how I'm going to spend the rest of my time working on this. I'm going to clean up the outside edges and get rid of any of the sort of errant marks. Make sure it looks all nice and good. And once I'm done with that, I will save this, as always, as a PSD. I'm going to continue working, but I'm going to end the video here. And then tomorrow what we're going to do is we're going to talk about adding the word bubbles to have the characters write in a little bit of dialogue. Kind of add drama or add a story, really, to our action sequence. So that's tomorrow's lesson. Today's lesson was simply just a review of how to put the background on, how to eliminate the white space around your characters, and how to set all that stuff up. Again, this video will be posted hopefully before the end of the period. So continue working, and I hope you guys have a good day.